Have you ever asked, how did you come up with your Orcish slang?
Probably by reading one too many White Dwarf magazines.
I'm not sure I consciously came up with the orc slang heard in Tales from my D&D campaign, other than the word "ka," which I wanted to be short and strong sounding. Mostly, I wanted the first orc who spoke, that's Naf, back when they sieged Corso's Chasm, to sound like he was trying to appear more civilized and verbally sophisticated than he really was. Although most orcs are not trying to be so quote-unquote eloquent, Naf's speech pattern sort of formed the base for orcness in my setting. Doing accents well is hard. I tried really hard to hone my Laric accent to sound like a subtle Indian accent and not a parody of one. Jury's still out on that attempt. I feel a little more confident in my success with Andrew Midgard's pseudo-French-Canadian accent, since I have more experience listening to that linguistic group. But creating a novel speech pattern, a fictional accent, there are some shortcuts you can try. One, try picking a few common words and then change them. Maybe instead of to and magic, these people say ta and maja. If you can remember those few changes, it will make their speech stand out a little bit, and you may find that you improvise a couple other pieces once you get comfortable with their dialect. Plus, it helps if you try to incorporate these sounds into their place names, or vice versa. If you already have all their place names, see if there's a theme in some of those names that you could work into their speech. For a bigger change, you could try swapping out a whole sound. This can actually be harder than it seems, because it trips you up to have to think about it while speaking, and it's easy to forget and miss some words. But if, for example, a group of people replace the O sound with the they might say rud, tud, and punny instead of road, toad, and pony. Again, it's harder than you think to do this consistently, but if you can keep up with that when speaking for them, they sound totally different. A third way might be to change the tone of their speech. Have you heard people who end every sentence on an uptone, as though it were a question? That could be a fictional accent, or part of one. But you could also pick a part of speech, like verbs, and use a different tone for that, like they strongly emphasize the first syllable of verbs. Or finally, you could think of a simple musical riff, 3 to 5 notes, and give them a bit of a musical inflection, where they often fit parts of their sentences to that musical riff. When using any of these ideas, or one of your own, remember, the more frequently you will have to use it, the simpler the accent should be. Don't give a tricky or annoying one to a group of NPCs you'll be using all the damn time, or you and the players will get annoyed with it pretty quickly. And definitely, try practicing your fictional accent. Speak with it, improvise, whether it's in the shower or whenever you're alone. You want to get in a decent amount of practice before using it in a game, to make sure that it's understandable and that you can handle it. And you probably don't want to use all my suggestions at once. Now, there can be many other ways to make a unique speech pattern, some very extreme ones, such as using only disjointed nouns, or describing everything in elemental terms. Those should probably be saved for groups which are very different from the rest of society and relatively uncommon in your setting. But I think the most important thing about helping to define any group and make them stand out through the use of an accent or speech pattern is just finding an accent which is noticeable and yet which is easy enough that you can keep it up consistently. If you slip up every now and then, forgetting to say a word or two to the correct in-character way, that's fine. You're going to screw up sometimes with this. But the important thing is to remember to apply it a bit on each occasion, every encounter with this linguistic group. You shouldn't have to say, this woman is from Arcadia. You just speak as that character, and if the players know where she's from and can still understand what she's saying, then you have a pretty successful fictional accent. If you have a question about running an RPG campaign or anything else, You can ask it in the comments, on my Facebook, or tweet it to hashtag RPGqa. I'm not really an expert, but if people keep asking, I may just take a stab at it. And check out the drama, humor, and ongoing illustrated story of Tales from My D&D Campaign. If you found that useful or entertaining, or if you enjoy cookies, hit the like button.